Welcome to Story Recap. Today I will show you a historical drama series from the year 2022 named The Last Kingdom Season 5. Be aware, spoilers ahead. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy. The Last Kingdom's fifth and final season have finally arrived. This series has quietly been one of the best historical sagas out there for years, following Uhtred of Bebbanburg as he fights to reclaim his home, enters the service of a Christian king, falls in love, battles his former best friend, and tries to fulfill his destiny. This is the last time we'll see the Uhtred and the group besides the upcoming film Seven Kings Must Die. Will they be given the proper send-off? Let's take a look at the new season's episodes and make a decision. The Last Kingdom, now in its fifth season, returns with a truly fantastic exhibition of everything that makes this program so riveting. It's basically Game of Thrones, except without the fantasy aspects and the terrible ending. Yes, The Last Kingdom navigates that perilous hole to give a fascinating and completely engrossing conclusion to one of the year's best period dramas. Episode 1. Brita is back, and she's back with a vengeance, as we witnessed in the first episode. Brita's daughter is now older and by her side after a few years have passed since the last season. Due to Ethelhelm's influence, political maneuvering continues in Wessex, but the accurate description of Ethelstan as a capable and worthy combatant is encouraging, considering that he goes on to become one of the best Anglo-Saxon kings in history. War is on the horizon, and given Brita's bloodlust and resolve to retaliate against all those who have wronged her, it promises to be a bloodbath. Episode 2. In the second episode, Brita has made it obvious that she would not stop until all of Uhtred's children are killed. But does this also include Ethelstan? For the time being, Ethelflaed's impending death is major news, and unfortunately, Ethelhelm is soon to find out as well, guaranteeing awful news all around. What will happen to Mercia when this happens? It's unclear whether Uhtred will survive this conflict, and with Ethelhelm spreading false rumors and making sure no one rides to Sigtrygg's help, it's a horrible omen for everyone involved. Episode 3. In the third episode, we see that, with Ethelflaed's health deteriorating and the destiny of Mercia hanging in the balance, Ethelhelm has discovered the ideal chance to plot against Edward and seize the throne for himself. Edward, on the other hand, definitely has his own plan, although what it is remains a mystery for the time being. Episode 4. In the fourth episode, England's history continues, with the focus now shifting to Anglo-Saxon dominance and what lies ahead in our history. This is another fantastic episode to demonstrate that, with The Last Kingdom beginning to focus heavily on the drama and impact brought forward by Edward. At the same time, Brita is bewildered and bereaved at the death of her child. Uhtred continues to play a role in all of this, but Ethelhelm's plotting looks to have been thwarted for the time being. Following Edward viciously slaughtering all of his cunning aldermen, it's hard to say where this could go next. Episode 5. The Last Kingdom marks the halfway point with an important chapter, Episode 5, that brings the series ever close to war. Because of Ethelhelm's influence and planning, it's clear that things have escalated beyond salvation, and halfway through the novel, it's plain that we're gearing up for a massive confrontation between the two sides. With Osferth's dad and Mercia now united under Edward's banner, the Saxons appear prepared to declare war against the Danes, which is likely to result in a major conflict. Episode 6. Sigtrygg is tragically killed in the sixth episode, when Edward is forced to take a difficult stand on what has occurred. Furthermore, Stiora has returned to her father, although she is clearly upset with Uhtred for what has happened to them. This episode, however, signals a turning point in the struggle, with Ethelhelm doing everything he can to get his grandson on the throne and prevent Edward no matter what. The problem is that the more he pushes, the more probable it is that England will unite against his threat. Episode 7. The ending of Episode 7 is extremely dramatic and wonderfully reflects the heart of the show and everything these individuals have been working for and toward. The emotional weight that both characters have been carrying is real, and you can feel it with every sword swing and cry to the sky. With Brita gone, the focus shifts to Ethelhelm and the threat he represents. This rude man is turning Scotia against Edward, and it appears that the menace of Scotland and Ethelhelm's scheming, which is luring them closer to war, will grab the final act of the show, which is rising in strength. This chapter is certainly one of the best of this year, full of emotional weight and sacrifice. Episode 8. Following Brita's death at her hands, Stiora is furious at the thought that she may have been redeemed and that her own father might have allowed it. Steora's problem is that she's mourning, and like all headstrong young people who find themselves adrift on the sea, she believes she's the only one who has experienced this. It's crazy to suggest that Uhtred hasn't endured loss and suffering, and it's also insane to claim that he's chosen wars over his family. But the end result is the same. Steora abandons her father and rides out with the Danes. Uhtred and Edward's protection are no longer available to her. Episode 9. In the 9th episode, Uhtred is still adamant about leaving, and Edward is determined about not letting him. You're aware of how men are. Fortunately, there are enough intelligent women around to cut through the hostility. Aelswith, backed by Yagofu, tells Edward that now is not the time to be afraid. And while he claims to be fearless, his mother knows he is not of Ethelhelm or Constantine's army, but of Alfred's legacy and his ability to live up to it. Sometimes all you need is your mother to tell you she's proud of you, to tell you God loves you. The next morning, Uhtred and his troops started off for Bebbanburg, accompanied by Edward and the entire Mercian army. Episode 10. Withgar isn't willing to play ball with Edward. Ethelhelm insists on allowing him to attack because the fortress can withstand the siege, but Constantine dislikes the concept of sitting and waiting and wishes to talk with Edward if he approaches the gate. In any case, everyone agrees that Elfwin should be kept safe, so Withgar suggests putting her in a fortified higher room. Instead, he drags her to the castle walls and holds a knife to her throat before presenting her to the Saxons. Since Edward is unwilling to yield any ground, Withgar recommends throwing her out of the castle, but Uhtred intervenes. He saves Elfwin and tells her to run, fights briefly with Withgar, and flees, reuniting with Finan and Sithric, who have escaped. The final episode is bittersweet, with a tear-jerking montage depicting how far Uhtred has come. The threat of Constantine has clearly not ended, and those who know their history will recognize that Ethelstan's emergence represents the next stage in English history. The Last Kingdom has been totally engrossing and easily one of the best period dramas this year. The show has been just as action-packed as before, with the cleverly woven, politically fascinating tale for which the show has been well known over the years. Although this episode resolves everything properly, there is plenty of a plot left behind for prospective spin-offs following the next movie. A fitting conclusion to a great concert, The Last Kingdom ends on a high note. Season 5 featured the novel's 9th and 10th series, The Warriors of the Storm and The Flame Bearer. Instead of The Last Kingdom Season 6, Netflix has decided to conclude the story with a feature-length film titled Seven Kings Must Die. Fans can expect to see Alexander Draymond reprise his role as Uhtred of Bebbanburg in the 2-hour feature, as well as other performers from The Last Kingdom. The film is intended to be a standalone epilogue inspired by Bernard Cornwell's final novels in the series, War of the Wolf, Sword of Kings, and Warlord. Seven Kings Must Die is set to follow up where The Last Kingdom Season 5 left off, with Uhtred, Athelstan, played by Harry Gilby, and the forces of Mercia and Wessex defeating Constantine II, King of Scotland, Rod Hallett, and his army. Uhtred returned to retake his ancestral house of Bebbanburg, and to keep the peace, he forged a pact with Constantine that guaranteed Northumbria would remain a buffer zone between England and Scotland until a new English king was established. However, an independent Bebbanburg means King Edward of Wessex's ambitions of a unified England have been shattered, and there is a significant possibility that Edward may break his vow and betray Uhtred. If you liked the story, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. What recap do you want to see next? Do let us know in the comment section below.